Yo, what's up guys? We're back again today. I'm Crix, and today we're going to be taking a look at your Retribution Paladin in the pre-patch. Now, some very exciting things going on with Retribution Paladin at the moment. We've retained some spells, we've lost some spells, but more importantly, we've had some old stuff reinstated, and I'm kind of excited about it. So, before we go into the video, what we're going to talk about today is we're going to talk about your talent choices, we're going to talk about your Azerite piece choices, we're going to talk about your Heart of Azeroth, and then we're going to talk about the new additions, the returning additions to our action bars. So, let's get right into it. We'll take a quick look at the talents, and then we'll take the rest of the video from there. Alright, let's go! So, here we are. We're going to take a look at our talents first. I want everybody to remember that I have done a bit of research into my Red Paladin, and I'm basing my choices off the research that I've done, the way that I play the game, my play style, and I've had a wee sneaky peek at some logs and some Reader.io scores and stuff on the website to see what other players are currently doing worldwide. But for me, this is what I've come up with, and this is what works for me, and it seems to be pretty decent. Now, let's take a look at our tier 15 talents. So, at tier 15, I've chosen to go Righteous Verdict. Okay, there's a couple of reasons for that. 1, it can proc. 2, hits like a truck. 3, we no longer have to use it inside the Judgment debuff, because yes, that debuff that Judgment used to cause is gone. Our holy spenders do the damage now. We don't have to wait for that Templar's Verdict window of the Judgment debuff. And the debuff was so long anyway that you could have fitted 2 Templar's Verdicts, maybe even 3 into it, but the debuff was consumed by the strike of 1 Templar's Verdict, so I'm not disappointed to see that go. Tier 25, we're going to go Blade of Wrath. You can choose Imperium Power if you want to go for a more AoE based DPS approach. I'm just finding that for me, smooths the DPS rotation a little bit better because of the proc. Okay, right? Tier 30, absolutely personal preference. I prefer Fist of Justice. I mean, in a scenario where you could potentially make a multiple interrupt, you could go for Blinding Light. It is very useful in several situations. But if you're playing solo, have fun, play with your buddies. Fist of Justice is pretty much the go-to. For me, still doing some Mythic Plus and stuff, having some fun, so I'm choosing Cavalier. Eye for an Eye will have its place, most likely for PvP. An Unbreakable Spirit, useful in encounters where you can take pressure off your tanks by soaking an ability with your bubble up. But this is the pre-patch, so everything's going to be subject to change. I have chosen Divine Purpose here. I'm going to get to Seraphim because there's going to be some fun stuff we can do with that. I'm very eager to see some of the trinkets in Shadowlands. But for now, I've chosen Divine Purpose. It's given me good results. I'm happy enough with it. Selfless Healer does exactly what it says on the tin. Gives you a proc of your Flash of Light, that you can use on yourself or any other party member. Okay, and for row 50, I have stuck with Crusade. Okay, so what I'm seeing the best results with at the moment, bearing in mind that we're still using the Vision of Perfection, so we have that big boy 1 minute 30 cooldown. So 1 minute 30 cooldown, very, very useful in Mythic Plus because, you get to burst more often. Okay, now, if you wanted to go for a full single target build-up, and what my opinion is on what it will be for BFA, is you would change this to Execution Sentence. You're going to change your Righteous Verdict to Execution Sentence. You're also going to choose Seraphim, but you're also going to choose Final Reckoning. Given that Seraphim only has a 45-second cooldown, this is all going to be worth waiting for 1 minute. Because what it's going to do is, it's going to give us that big execution with Seraphim up and Final Reckoning at the same time. Now this is quite important because it's only a 1 minute cooldown, and that's what makes the Seraphim worth waiting on the 15-second CD, that it has less than your 60 seconds on your Final Reckoning and your execution. Now that gives us pretty much a 1 minute burst cooldown, remembering then that in Shadowlands we will not have Vision of Perfection. Okay, we will be changing gear. We won't have those A.S.A.P pieces anymore. You'll be replacing your neck, and Vision of Perfection isn't going to be there unless something's introduced that gives us the effect. Well, then it would have to be considered. But it's going to give us a 1 minute cooldown and a 2 minute cooldown. But then they're all going to line up together as well. So you're going to have massive, massive damage. And so this isn't going to be Crusade, it's going to be your wings. But you're going to have massive damage when you have all of them. You have Execution Sentence, Seraphim, Final Reckoning, blasted off with your wings on your 2 minute CD when they all line up. I mean, the damage is potentially going to be insane. Now, something that I would like to talk about is that if we have available to us a 1 minute CD trinket, this will pretty much be your go-to setup. Arguably, you could skip Execution Sentence in favor of Righteous Verdict, but I think for single target, 100%, we will see Execution Sentence, Seraphim, and Final Reckoning being the go-to for 100% single target. Now, so, we've covered our talents. We've covered a little bit about what my opinion is moving into Shadowlands, and what we're going to take a look at next is your A.S.A.P pieces. So, there's a couple of different ways you can look at your A.S.A.P pieces. I mean, ultimately, I believe that item level is king. So if you can't match the traits that I have, which for me I think are working absolutely perfectly, my damage seems to be great, and I'm quite impressed by Red Paladin at the moment. But we'll take a look and we'll see what we're going to go for. So, A.S.A.P pieces. Great Helm of Phantasmic Reality. Gone for Avenger's Might and Light's Decree. Okay, Light's Decree. Still one of our go-tos. You explode with Holy Light, dealing AoE damage. Okay, lovely. Here, again, Avenger's Might, Light's Decree on my shoulders, Tankbuster Pauldrons. If you can't get it, don't worry about it. It's not that important. It's the pre-patch, but do, like I said in the previous video in the Frost Mage, do check your item restoration and toy around with some new gear sets. You'll have access to them. Don't forget about your item restoration. There are some hidden goodies in there, I guarantee you that. And for the chest, I have gone for 1 Imperium Power and 1 Light's Decree. Now, a lot of people are playing with the 1 Imperium Power because they're talenting into it in your talent section, which is essentially giving you 2 Imperium Powers. But for me, I mean, if you want to go big boy, full blast AoE, certainly stack Imperium Power. But the one thing that you have to remember is this, Avenger's Might. So we're going to open this up. Avenger's Might. While Crusade is active, your mastery is increased by 128. Now, that is also applied to your wings proc from Vision of Perfection. So, what I have chosen to do, and we'll get to it once we get to the stats, is choose my avenging reason for the reason of the stats that I have gone for. Okay, now some Red Paladins are choosing crit over mastery, some are choosing versatility, some are choosing haste. I have personally gone possibly a little bit different to other Paladins. I'm playing haste mastery. The reason that I'm stacking my mastery is because of this Avenger's Might trait, and I have 3 of them. Okay, and then obviously, your Light's Decree, just a go-to for... it's not as effective in single target, but it is fantastic for AoE. So your overall damage in your dungeons, etc., if you're still having fun doing them, it's pretty substantial. It's good. It's good. We're competing. We're up there. We're up there, guys. So, we've just gone over why I've taken these traits and the A.S.A.P pieces that I have. And I want to stress again, I just want to reinforce the point that item level is pretty much king. So if you can't match up what I have, don't worry about it, but please do check that item restoration and try to get yourself some Avenger's Might, depending on whether or not you've chosen to stack mastery. Okay, that's the important thing. If you've chosen to stack mastery, Avenger's Might is a must-have on your gear pieces, if you really want to pump big numbers. If you just want to have fun, toy around with whatever you want to play. Right, so let's close this up. Now, essences. Major essence, 100%. There's no question. Us Red Paladins, we will play a Vision of Perfection, because the proc is pretty good. It's a decent proc rate in that it actually is worth stacking your mastery. And I haven't crunched any big boy numbers on it, but it does proc quite regularly for the Ret Paladin, so you want that mastery to be contributing to extra damage from your Avenger's Might when it procs, because the effect is still effectively your crusade, because we're talented into it, so you get the benefit from the additional mastery every time it procs as well. Okay, so let's take a look at our minors. I have gone for Breath of the Dying. I'm not going to read all of these out. I'm going to hover over them just like I have done in the previous videos, and these are the choices that I've made. So I've got Breath of the Dying, I've gone for the Crucible of the Flame, and I have gone for Memory of Lucid Dreams. So your spells and abilities have a chance to refund 50% of the holy power spent on them, heal you for 965, and increase your versatility by 65 for 8 seconds. So, not too shabby at all. Who wouldn't want half their bloody holy power back? It's what we spend. Of course we want half of it back. Now, moving swiftly on, we're going to take a look at the gear that I currently have equipped. We've just looked at our Azerite pieces and our Heart of Azeroth, so we're going to take a look now at the other slots that I am currently using. Some people might find it questionable, but I am finding it to work great for me. Again, it's going to be personal preference. It's the pre-patch. It's your opportunity to have some fun and play around and see what works for you, see what matches your playstyle, and figure out how you're gonna play your Paladin coming into Shadowlands. So let's take a look and see at some of the other gear that I'm currently using. Okay, so here, Haste Mastery Piece, Haste Mastery Piece, Haste Versatility, because I don't have a Haste Mastery one. So, Crit Haste, gone exactly for item level here because I don't have anything better. I do have a Versatility Mastery piece, but I'll get to it and tell you why that I've chosen to take the Crit Haste one here in particular. We're back on Haste Mastery. Crit Haste again. This is basically for the haste because it has 61 haste. Haste Versatility, best ring that I had. This trinket though, it's only a 120. Okay, but it's on a 1 minute 30 CD and it procs strength on use. Now, given that your primary stat is pretty much king for, I would guess, all classes at the moment, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but a strength proc as significant as this one, every 1 minute 30 with your main burst CD, is pretty significant damage. Couple it with the mastery gain that you get from your Avenger's Might, then your Imperium Power on your for your Divine Storm, and your AoE damage just goes loopy-loo, man. It goes loopy-loo. And we're going to go with the Vita Charged Titan Shard. Now, this is strictly, again, a haste trinket, but there's a reason for that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at my stats and the reasons that I've chosen these stats, and we'll go over that. So for me, I'm only running 18% crit, because, like I said, I've chosen to stack Mastery for the reasons that I've already explained. Vision of Perfection proccing my wings, and Avenger's Might on my neck piece, bolstering that damage on the proc, plus I get all of that multiplied damage when I pop my wings every 1 minute 30 with this Vial of Animated Blood. Okay, now I've gone for 32% haste. Okay, it took me a while to fiddle around with my gear to get this, but there's a reason for that as well. You'll see a lot of Paladins playing with sort of sub 30%. What I like about having 32% is my Crusade is on a 4.5 second CD. For me personally, I feel like it suits my playstyle because previously I have played sort of spammy classes and I don't like the downtime on my rotation. And the fact that this casts at 4.5 instead of 5 seconds like it previously did with my previous mastery build, I'm really enjoying that. And I know it's only half a second, but it's half a second continuously, you know what I mean? So every half second adds up, and that all just smooths my rotation, and that's the reason that I've chosen to play at 32% haste. Again, back to the mastery, we're at 48.2% mastery, and it increases all your holy damage done by that percentage. Okay, now the thing that you have to remember is that this mastery percentage is increased with your traits here. Okay, so it is a percentage based damage calculation, okay? So I'm going to get another 128 mastery off this. I'm going to get another 128. I'm going to get another 128. But that mastery stacked up gives me 48.2% more damage after this stacks. That's a pretty significant amount of mastery. I haven't specifically calculated all of the fine details, but it's a significant increase. So that 48% damage increase is topped with the accumulative mastery that I gain, 1 from my static mastery, and 2 the percentage mastery calculation with these active when I pop wings, and or when it procs to the value of the wings proc, because obviously when your wings procs, it's not as effective as your main burst CD. Okay. Now, that's all well and good. Those are some great things. That's the reasons that I play with the stats I have, the gear I use, and everything else in between. Okay? All of the reasons we've just talked about are justified. Okay? This will work for you. You will have fun with this setup. Trust me on that. Now, one thing else that I want to bring to people's attention, and I've noticed that a lot of people aren't doing it, is that because your base stat is actually kind of king now, there are 2 strength gems and 2 intellect gems that we can all use. Okay? And a lot of people aren't doing it. But your base stat is king, man. Trust me, your base stat is king, especially on your Red Paladin. So I've opted here for the plus 12 strength gem, the Kraken's Eye, and I have opted for the plus 18 gem. I can't remember the name of it. But that's given me an additional 30 strength. So be fooled not, my friends. The 12 strength of this Kraken's Eye is much more valuable to you than your 7 mastery off your socket, okay? So don't waste one of your sockets by putting a mastery one or a crit one in it. Get those double strength gems in, okay? It's a Kraken's Eye and a pristine strength gem or something like that. I can't remember what the name of it is. Again, coming back down to, if you have a ton of socketed gear, put it on, balance your stats, and sim your character. Your sockets will be important, they'll play a big part, and you'll probably see a better result with that socketed gear because you're getting the bonus stat from it. Okay. Lovely. Now, let's take a look at some of our spells. Big change, guys. We have auras back. So here on my action bar, you can see I have mine bound to X, C, and V. Okay, so I'll just quickly tap with my thumb. Okay, so your Crusader aura increases mountain speed 20% for all party and raid members within 40 yards. Probably going to be useful when you're doing some Mythic Plus. And there's some Mythic Plus dungeons currently that you have to double back on yourself to have an effective percentage count. So it's quite useful that you can give your team that wee speed boost, as long as you're all stacked up pretty neatly. Your Devotion aura. Not the big boy that it was back in Pandaria, but it is pretty handy. Okay, so party and raid members within 40 yards are bolstered by your devotion, reducing damage taken by 3%. It's not that significant, but paired with other raid cooldowns, it could potentially help save a wipe, wherein maybe 1-2 people might die instead of half your damn team. So, be prepared to use it, have it on a keybind that's accessible to you. Your raid members will thank you for remembering that it reduces the damage. Okay. Pretty much our go-to, though, as Retribution is going to be our Retribution aura. When in a party or raid member within 40 yards dies, you gain Avenging Wrath again. Avenging Wrath for 8 seconds. Not that significant. More so significant in your raid environment where there's bigger potential for someone to die. Most likely, in progression, it will be a melee to die first, because I don't know why melee just tend to die more, but you know, we'll just have to see how the raid progression goes. So even if you're doing Mythic Plus now, I would probably suggest that you could just go ahead and use your Devotion aura the whole way, because if someone dies in your 5-man team, it's pretty tough just to pull through a tyrannical boss with only a couple of people alive. Okay, so might be worth thinking about. Now, couple of other lovely things that we do have back, And I will be working on the macros and stuff for BFA. I just don't see the point in putting any additional ones out at the minute. But we have Blessing of Sacrifices back. Our utility, dudes, our utility, man, is actually very, very good again. So we just mentioned the speed bonus. We mentioned the damage reduction from Diva Aura. We also have a sack for tanks or healers that are in trouble. We have good old faithful Hand of Freedom. And we have Cleanse. You know, we also have our Arcane Torrent as Blood Elves. That's why we're in Silver Moon. I'm a Blood Elf Paladin. Arcane Torrent. Remove 1 beneficial effect from all enemies within 8 yards. That is a massive AoE dispel. That's awesome. You know what I mean? That's why I play a Blood Elf Paladin, because I think it's great. Given aside that we have tremendous cooldowns for ourselves, you know, we still have our Shield of the Vengeance. We still have our Blessing of Protection. We still have our Bubble at 3 minutes, should we choose to talent it. What I said, pre-mentioned, could be crucial for raid progression when a Red Paladin can have a 3-minute bubble and soak abilities that may otherwise kill a tank or kill a party member. Unbelievable. Lay on Hands, another emergency cooldown for your tank, your healer, or anyone who's about to die. Insane stuff that we have going on. We also have, and I don't hold a great deal of hope for it, to be honest, we have Consecration back. Arguably, honestly, I think you're going to need possibly 8+ targets for Consecration to be actually worth casting, and all 8 targets are probably going to have to be on it. So we'll just have to see how that pans out. Currently, I'm not really using it that much just because I'm set up for Divine Storm to do insane damage when I go into a Mythic Plus dungeon. But let's take a look at some of the other things we have. Alright, so we're just looking at our General Paladin. I mean, we have our Blessing of Sacrifice. Contemplation, I don't even know why they put this in the game, but whatever, bro. Turn Evil is back. Not sure how effective it's going to be or how often we're going to be able to use it. It may be interesting in PvP, you know, when it's castable on PvP targets. But Word of Glory has always been a thing, but it is somewhat stronger now, so it's going to be another pretty important utility spell. We can go over some macros and utility based macros that will enhance your performance as a Retribution Paladin. Like coming into the talents coming in here, Consecration Aura, you know, interrupt this and silence this effect, and party raid members within 40 yards are 30% shorter. Some pretty big stuff coming in, but today we're here to talk about what we're able to do in the pre-patch. So we take a look at our Retribution. We still have Art of War passive. You know, your auto attacks have a 24% chance to reset the cooldown of Blade of Justice. Happy days. Arguably, you could say that if you're going to play Blade of Justice, you could still play, what's it called? It is called Zeal. That's the one. Arguably, you could say. Certainly for me, it's probably worth giving a go because I'm stacking a lot of haste. But I'm just seeing better results with this talent setup for me personally. Getting back into our talents. Like, Hand of Hindrance, it's always been a thing, more commonly used in PvP, I guess. But Wake of Ashes, baseline now. Issue with Wake of Ashes. Okay, it used to generate 5 holy power. It no longer does that. It only generates 3. So, an important thing to remember about your Wake of Ashes is that yes, it is a holy power builder, but it also hits like a truck. So before you're popping an opener, you should be using your Blade of Justice, you should be using your Judgment, and you should be using your Crusader Strikes to achieve your 5 holy power. Then you're going to pop your trinkets and your burst and all that good stuff. Remembering that your Wake of Ashes hits even harder under the conditions of Crusade. Okay, so don't make that mistake as a Ret Paladin and use that Wake of Ashes as a holy power builder. Okay, so if it's got 10 seconds to cool down and your burst CDs are coming up in 15 seconds, save it. I would say up to around the 10-15 second mark even, you want that Wake of Ashes available when you have your burst active. Okay, cool. So we've already gone over all of these other things, but at the minute, yeah guys, Retribution is looking pretty darn good. Now, in the pre-patch at the minute, Retribution Paladin is sort of middle of the pack for every single DPS class. One thing that has impressed me with Ret Paladin though is that in terms of melee DPS, and we're going to exclude sub-rogues because they're absolutely broken, we are actually being rated above both arms and fury warriors. That's a big deal. That very, very, very rarely happens because we have now got more damage than warriors, and we also have more raid utility than a warrior. This is pretty big. I genuinely feel, for me personally, you know, as a guildmaster and a former raid leader, etc., that I think I would prefer to have a Retribution Paladin than a warrior at the moment, unless things fundamentally change. Of course, we're still in the pre-patch. It's anybody's guess. But there we have it, guys. That is how I'm playing my Retribution Paladin in the pre-patch, and I'm seeing some pretty good results. Quite solid single target damage. Very, very good AoE. Overall damage on your meter, you're certainly going to compete with most classes at the moment. So I'm actually a little bit surprised that Ret Paladin is still in the middle of the pack. But as far as surviving your pre-patch goes on your Retribution Paladin, guys, we have covered pretty much everything. What we can do is, in the comments below, guys, if you would like to see a rotation guide or a macro guide, please do just hit me in the comments. Drop a like, drop a sub on the video if you enjoyed it, especially if it helped you out. Again, guys, it's been my pleasure bringing this guide to you, and I hope it helps. If you haven't seen any of my recent content, please, please, please take a look at it, especially if you're playing Frost Mage. I'm going to be making a Frost Mage myself because I have played my mage for quite so many years now. But Crix here was my very, very first raiding character that I ever played in World of Warcraft. I love this character like it's a member of my family, like a dog. Everybody loves their dog. That's how I love my paladin. And no matter how hard I try, every expansion, I cannot forget about Crix. It's my namesake character, bro. My namesake character. That's a little bit more about me and my experience in the game. But again, guys, thank you so much for watching the video. And thank you all so much for the recent subscriptions and the very kind comments. I really appreciate that, guys. We are stretching and reaching for the stars. We are looking for that 1,000 subscribers. So if you haven't already watched and subscribed, guys, please, please, please smash the sub button. Leave your likes. And once again, thank you very much for everything that you're helping me with by watching the videos. And I'm going to say thank you. Enjoy the guide. I hope it helps. And again, hit me in the comments. Links to my Twitch, Discord, and socials will be in the description below. And I'll see you in the next video, guys. Toodles for now.